You ain't gotta lie to kick it, my nigga. You ain't gotta lie. You ain't gotta lie.
What's going on, YouTube? We are back with another episode of You Ain't Gotta Lie to Kick It, episode 10. Happy to be here. And this month we're going to be doing it a little differently. It is actually Men's Mental Health Month, and so me and Money are going to be diving into some mental health topics. And at some point we may bring back Ashley, with her being a mental health therapist. But currently it's just me and Money today. I'm wearing a mental health hoodie I got where I'm not sure if it's going to be backwards or not, but it says ask me how I'm doing. It says ask me how I'm doing, like really ask me how I'm doing, basically saying, people, especially us black men, we tend to be like, I'm fine, when we're really not fine. We'd be the furthest thing from fine, but due to how things have played out in our lives, or how black raised, there is this stigma, which is actually one of the topics we're going to talk about today. And one of the topics we're going to talk about today is generational trauma, as being black men and growing up and how things play out to each other. Obviously, we're going to get into the NBA buzz going on with the playoffs. Later, me and Money are going to also talk about how the Miami Heat and Orlando can improve. And then we're going to end with our final offseason grades for our respective teams. But first and foremost, Money, how are you doing?
I'm great, man. I'm ready to have this topic. I think this topic can be a real touchy one for a lot of people. So I'm excited about it.
Yes, I'm excited as well, man. So, gonna start things off. I think I'm gonna take the lead leg on this one. Generational trauma and the stigma of black man. So, one thing with my family, and I've always been closed up about things, but I guess this is the time to open up about it. Is we passed down the idea of tough love. My grandmother always gave tough love to my mom and her siblings, and it was an environment of no one really saying they love you to each other. And my grandmother was always hard like that. She was always hard. And my mom was like that when I was younger. She was the same way. As obviously as I gotten older, she's been more expressive and saying I love you. But my grandmother was like that. And with her, now that she's older, she's more open to saying it now. And back then that wasn't always the case. It was even with my mom kid. And I kind of felt some of that when I was younger, and it took her until I was, damn near 20 something for her to finally saw it. And so it led to that. So at first I used to be bad at expressing myself. I still am, to be honest, in my feelings in a relationship, because I was always told to bottle it. I was always told, oh, don't cry, you're a boy. Boys, you. Or when I'd be like, hey, I don't like this, and they were like, oh, you a man, you can't be doing all that complaining or whatever. And so I was taught as to bottle up my emotions and feelings and keep it to myself. Boys don't cry. You gotta be tough. You supposed to be a man in the house. You know what I'm saying? Or if I said something to my sisters, or they did something to me, and I'd be like, Mom, they did this. Stop all that damn telling. Like, they girls, you a boy, you the oldest. That was all I hated hearing. You oldest. It's like they can get away with murder, but because I'm the oldest, I had to act a certain way. And fast forward to now, I'm a man in my 30s, and I struggle to express myself. I struggle to express how I really feel. Like, one thing I'm really bad at doing is, once I get upset, I just shut down. I shut down. I don't want to talk anymore. I don't want to talk. I don't want to deal with it. And I get over it without truly addressing the problem. And so I've been trying to work on it. That's all I can do. And I think, like I said, I still deal with struggles expressing myself. Like, I feel like no one cares, because that's how I was raised. No one cares how I feel. You a boy, deal with it. You a man. And so when I'll start expressing myself and I feel like I'm saying too much, I'll just shut down. It's like, but I don't want to talk about it no more. And it's like, it's not fair to the person I'm dating, or even with like my friends and family, and if I have a problem with you and I'm trying to talk at the problem, I can't get mad and be like, dump all this money, let's just fight. What is that going to solve? You know what I'm saying? And you remember how it was when I was younger. That was always my first thing. Like, you like, I ain't do all this. Fight. We can really fight right now. And so growing up and learning, you gotta learn how to express yourself, Jay. That's been like a hard thing for me. and I've gotten better at it, but I still struggle with it. I still struggle with trying to express myself and talk about my feelings and feeling like someone can actually care about me and care about what I have to say. And I'm still learning how to cope with my feelings and emotions as, a 30-some-year-old man now. And it's partly embarrassing a little bit, but I understand, like it is what it is. That's a part of me, and no one's perfect, and all I can do is keep trying to work on myself each day and get better and better.
All right. I'm gonna say this. I don't think it's embarrassing with what you're saying, like learning to express yourself, because I'm gonna say I dealt with the tough love too, with my family. But I'll say it did that tough love did help shape me the way I am. I'll say the goods about it is, if I ever had a problem with somebody at the job, like them saying stuff really didn't bother me like it would bother other people. Like the thing is,
Right.
they'll say someone, they say what they gotta say, and there was a guy at the job people had problems with because of how he would say things. But if I had a problem with him, me and him would have a conversation, and me and him became really good friends. I had a conversation because about a topic. Me and him talked about it. I'll say it was about the police, brutality situation, and we just had a conversation about it. Like, man, and it made us respect each other more. He's like, you know what, bro? I respect you even more because you came to me instead of just going to HR. You came to me and let me know how you feel. And, I think that helps shape your relationship. I'll say, the main thing is with man, I'm like, principle is what helps build a man. I'll say, you know, me growing up in the house, with my mom and dad, then I have my grandparents and stuff. I'll say, with my mom, she's always loving and she'll let you get away with things. But my dad, when you got in trouble, my mom's like, you know what? I'm gonna tell your dad. It's like, it's like, but my dad.
And that's how those households with both parents. One's the disciplinary, one's the hey, that's too much. And I think that's a benefit that you had. You grew up in that type of environment where it was a balance. For me, it was no balance. It was one time I recall I got in trouble in school. It was either when I got kicked out, kicked out of school I was at. It was either when I got kicked out or it was I got suspended or something for fighting. And I got 3 ass whoopings that day. I got one from my uncle, which first of all, my uncle wasn't even like a father figure to me. Like he was just my uncle. Like it wasn't like nigga was in my life. He just took it upon himself because he's the one who had to pick me up for school, and then he gave me a whooping, and then my mom gave me a whooping, and then my grandmother gave me a whooping. So yeah, so there was no balance. It was all discipline. It was no loving from anyone.
I- I'll say, I'll say, I'll say another thing is, I was talking with one of my cousins, and he's like, that father figure doesn't always like, cause some people have lost their fathers early in life through different things. I'm like, like how you were saying, sometimes it could be your uncle, it could be, one of your friends, close friends' dad, it could be, your granddad. That could be a father figure in your life, and like you were saying, I had that balance, you know. Sometimes my mom would think, hey, you probably went a little overboard, with everything.
Right.
And she would, I'll say, with my mom, she'll have a conversation with you and try to explain it to you. But your dad, with the dad, he was more of the tough love type of thing, but he let you know he'd love you. He's like, I want you, like how we're
Right.
saying, I'd rather, discipline you than you end up in a system type of thing. And so I'll say that really had helped shape me. I'll say, when even though you have that balance, there's people who still end up in jail or prison or whatever because of different things they go through. Sometimes having your dad in your household, he might be a superhero to you, but he might not even be making the best decisions himself.
Right.
So I'll say the important thing is the
And
role
we
model.
have heard situations of people having both parents and still making bad decisions. But statistically speaking, having parents in your life, the child usually turns out a lot better off
Yes.
opposed to
Yes,
not.
you know what, Jay? There's another statistic. They said single fathers have the same success rate as a two-parent household. They say it's close
Mm.
because it's that discipline. It's the discipline aspect. Hey, hey, but I'm gonna teach you how to lead too. He's like
Right,
and that
exactly.
makes a big difference. It's like, hey, you know, as a man, this, and that type of thing. That I'll say, even though you go through certain things when you talk with your dad or another man or whatever, you're able to express yourselves differently than sometimes with a woman. Even though my mom and I have a great relationship, with certain things that only my dad will understand. Like man issues. Like say if you're like going through something with your girl or whatever, you know. Well, I would better call my dad and we can have a conversation because he understand what I'm talking about. With your mom, she's like she only sees it a certain way and it's like but with your dad he sees
Right.
a lot of your way. I'll say even if people are going through thinking about getting married or whatever, I'll say the best thing for me would be to have marriage counselors that are married and like have the man's perspective and a woman's perspective so that neither you or your future wife or fiance or whatever would feel like you're only getting one side of the story. I'll say so with men with mental health. I'll say it makes a difference. Like, with the people who actually go out and do, different things, other students and stuff, maybe even bullying. They might be having a terrible time at home, so that's why they bully people to try to express themselves because that's their mental health aspect as a kid. Like, hey, I'm not getting the love I think I deserve, so let me take out this frustration on another student.
Yeah, and also the household too, man. Like one thing, and I'm not even sure if I ever told you. Like I've been diagnosed with depression. So like, and reflecting on everything, it's like it was from a young age it started. Like I used to be bullied when I was a kid, and I would come home and tell my mom, and it was like she didn't care, or or as she likes to say, she didn't believe me. And so like it led to me having very dark thoughts at a young age. At 8 years old, I was contemplating suicide. So it was something that I've internalized and I just buried
Let me
deep
ask you
inside
this.
me. And then fast forward as I've
Let me
gotten,
ask you this because I'll say even it, like let me ask you this. You think if your dad, because I'll say if somebody was doing something to my brothers, even my dad almost fought one of my brother coaches because of what he said. You think if he had a father figure and
right.
he would have been like, what, I'm gonna do something about it and pull it up to the school, you think that would have helped you a lot with that situation?
I think having someone acknowledge the problem would have helped a lot. And so just the fact that no one wanted to acknowledge the problem, like I think that didn't help at all. So maybe even if it was my grandmother stepping in, but I never told her what was going on. I'm 100% sure my mom never told her what was going on. And so it was just little things like that. And then I used to have so much hate in my heart because I used to hate my uncle because I felt like, you was my uncle. Like you grew up without a father. I felt he should have stepped up and be like, let me look out for nephew. Let me make sure he's straight and get everything he needs. But he didn't. And as I got older, I understand like that's not his responsibility. I'm not his child. So he's not obligated to do these things. But in my heart as a youth, I felt like, why would you not want to do that? Especially knowing how it is not. But but like I said, when I was older, I realized he ain't taking care of his own damn kids. He ain't finna take care of me. So it was just like a lot of reflecting and it was a lot of burying things inside. I buried all these feelings and emotions aside, and then when I got to my middle 20s, everything started resurfacing. I'm having panic attacks in parking lots. It was bad. It was really rough, and I still deal with it obviously, and it was a lot of like growing and stuff like that. Like now with Alex, my biological father, like I used to not even say his name. I used to refer to him as a sperm donor. You know what I'm saying? And one thing I learned, I had to take that power away from him. I had to take that power away from him and not allow myself to be so angry towards him, because at the end of the day, you turned out all right. Like, you could have been like I have an older brother by him. He has 8 kids and he can't see like 3 of them. You know what I'm saying? He's in an awful situation, and same as him, he grew up without a father. And so I could have been a lot worse off. I'm fortunate I did have my grandmother and my mom, who did the best they could. You know, no one's perfect, but like there's a lot of missed opportunities I feel with my upbringing. And so I don't know. I think that was a big part of it, man. So it's like, and that's one of the reasons to have kids. That's a big reason. We'll probably talk about that next week, but that's one of the reasons why I'm scared to have kids, because it's like, look at everything I went through. Like I don't know. I never did my research on that. I'm pretty sure it doesn't work like this, but like you don't pass depression on your kids, but maybe you do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm diagnosed depressed. My sister's diagnosed depressed. I have another sister who I believe is bipolar. Is undiagnosed, but I'm very confident she's bipolar. And so we have all these mental health problems, and my mom deals with depression. So it's like, you know, without educating myself, I see it looks like it's passed down. So I would hate to pass down that trauma to my kid. And, and things learned. One thing I feel like my mom learned from her upbringing was my grandmother spoiled her boys. It was 2 girls, 2 boys for them, right? And you met all my uncles and aunts. And so with my uncles, my grandmother really spoiled them, gave them the world. Even now, you see how my grandmother is with my that's still here. And so with my mom's mom and her sister, she felt like they didn't get the same love and affection they did. So I felt like subconsciously she followed that suit, but she was telling herself subconsciously, like, if I have kids, I'm not going to be like that. I'm gonna make sure my kids get equal love. But she ended up overcompensating to where the girls are getting more love and affection than her boys. And that's something you need to talk about in therapy one day. But like, I guess immaturely, I'm not ready to have that conversation, and I've kind of moved past, but not really, because it's still there. Like, it was a point in time when I was in college. I used to get so mad. And I think I told you about this. I used to get so mad because, I have twin sisters, to the viewers at home. The twins started playing basketball, and my mom would never come to any of my games when I played ball. And keep in mind, I was a damn good athlete. I was a 3-sport athlete. I have scholarships to different schools for, track, basketball, and football. So I was pretty good. And she never came to any of my games. She never showed up. She never was interested. Anytime with basketball in high school, we game night, you coming? I gotta work in the morning, Jay. I can't be out late. The twins, on the other hand, she there to midnight for them, and I felt like, and maybe it was her realizing she missed out on those opportunities with me, but I felt like it was her trying to, like, my mom wasn't there for me, so I got to be there for my girls. And so that's something, once again, maybe something I need to talk about in therapy with her. But I see a lot of missed opportunities, and one thing someone pointed out to me that I never gave my mom credit for, and I now, why I kind of just let everything go, is my mom was 22 when she had me. She didn't know who the hell she was. You know what I'm saying? She was 22 with a 3-year-old. So she was still trying to figure out who she was. Because did you know who you was at 21, 22? I know I
Yep.
didn't know who I was at 21, 22. So she's 21, 22 with a child. She didn't know who she was. She was still trying to figure out life. And I never thought about that until someone gave me that angle. So it allowed me to forgive her and move forward.
I'll say forgiveness is a huge thing. Also, I'm gonna
Absolutely.
say, I got a few things to say. I'll say, I understand what you were saying about being the oldest and you getting blamed for everything. I always would get blamed for everything too, so I would always get angry about it because it's like I remember there would be
Yeah.
times, my brothers didn't do the dishes, and I get yelled at, "Why you didn't do the dishes?" And I'm like, "That was their job."
Because you the
And
oldest. Why
and
you
I
ain't
was like,
make them do
"Yeah,
the
why I
dishes?
ain't make them do the dishes? I can't make them do anything, you know."
They don't listen to me. You
Yeah,
want me to make them do something?
yeah, and so you get all the blame, and it's like, dang. And so I'll say one of my biggest things was forgiveness. You know, uh, I'll say
Yeah.
I'll say, and this story. Back in middle school, no, back in high school. I gave this guy my PIN number because you remember we had the PIN numbers for high school, and I gave him my PIN number,
Right.
and he ended up using up all my money. And so I had to end up because he was like, yeah, I ain't got no money, I'm starving. So I gave him my PIN number to be nice. He ended up spending all my money, and so I had to eat ham and cheese sandwiches for the rest of the school year. And I know this was what it was senior year in high school, and so the thing
Yeah.
was, even in college, I was like, the funny thing is, I never seen Buddy after that whole situation because the lunch lady pulled me to the side and she was like, hey, so and so was, spending up all your money. I don't remember the dude name off the top of my head, but, he was spending up all my money. And so I had hate in my heart for the dude. I was like, bro, I see this. The funny thing, I never seen him again. But I was like, I see, dude, I'm going to
Never
swing
see him
on him.
again. Yep.
And I never seen him through
That's
high
how I
school.
felt about that situation when we was younger. And this is a little off topic, but you remember
Yeah.
James? I wanted to fight James for the longest after we had a little falling out. And after I called that nigga, I was like, yo, when I see you, it's like that. You hear me? Like it's really like that. I ain't see him for like 3 years. And by that time, I'm over it. We ain't in high school no more. We in college. So I was way past that situation. But I really wanted to put hands on that
Yeah,
boy.
same with the dude. And so I remember I went to a Christian organization called Crew, and they're like, Flint, you gotta learn to forgive. I'm like, I don't give a freak about none of that. It's principle. I was like, I see, dude, I'ma fight
His
him. Like
principal.
I didn't care about like when in high school, if you fought somebody, you get what, 14 days. I didn't care about them doggone 14 days. I wanted my fade on sight.
I'll do the
I
time.
wanted my fade on. I wanted my fade on sight, and I never seen dude. And the crazy thing is, with Crew, I was in college, and eventually, I finally forgave dude. And the crazy thing about it
Yeah.
is, it felt like a weight was lifted off my heart and everything. And a month later, a month or two, maybe a few months later, he ended up passing away in a car accident, which is wild to me.
Oh wow.
Which is wild to me. But I
Yeah.
finally learned to forgive, dude. And also, with mental health, with a guy as a man, it's hard to forgive. Like it's hard to forgive people,
Yeah.
and that I'll say that could be an issue. The forgiveness, because if you can't forgive somebody, you're gonna always carry that hate in your heart. So I'll say, I'm
Absolutely.
glad that I learned to forgive Buddy, because he's no longer here.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine you would have felt terrible about that. You like, damn, like I was really upset about this man for all this time, and I think that's a big thing, forgiveness, because you just go through your life like, and I've always been violent. Like I still, I'm still violent to this day. Like I was about to beat up a guy at work today, but that's a different conversation I'll tell you about later. So, but I've always been violent at heart, and like I always be like, at the end of the day, we can go fight. Like I'm really like we can really fight, but it's like now I'm older and I'm trying to be more mature about the situation. It's like, all right, Jay, you can't handle every situation like that no more. So it's like trying to balance that and then like really, and then it's like it's like the devil and the angel on the shoulder. Like the angel's like, come on, Jay, you better than that. You've grown a lot. Look at how far you've come. And the devil's like, man, fuck all that. I'm trying to go do something. You soft? Is you soft? And it's like, so it's a battle. But at the end of the day, I understand, I'm an older age, more to lose. It's not, oh, you suspended for 14 days and it's done with. Like, no, like, you beat up the wrong dude, they can press charges. They can, you can end up in jail, you can lose your job. A lot of things can happen from beating people up. It's not like the 90s. Like, people used to take their ass when they're going about their day. People don't take asses to say. Now people want to sue, they want to call the police. It's a lot different. A lot
And
different.
it be their
So,
fault. It be their fault when they got
but
their
yeah.
butt kicked too.
And it be their fault. 100% if they fault why they end up in that situation, you put their hands on them. So, but yeah, that's a big thing. Like, but ultimately, I just feel like as a black community, we gotta do a better job. Like one thing I see with the black community too is like how we talk to our kids. That bothers me so much. Like I never liked seeing parents curse out
I
their
agree.
kids. Go sit your MF
I
butt
never
down.
had to deal with
That
that. I
always
never
bugged
had to
me.
deal a lot with
You
that.
know, and same with my mom. My mom does this funny thing actually. She curses at us, but she censors herself. So she'll literally be like, "Sit your down, somewhere before I get mad. So it's always funny. My mom does that, but she would, like I said, she would curse, but she said,
You know
"You
what's
get
funny?
out my face right now."
You know what's funny? My parents never even really told her to shut up. So
Really?
yeah, so certain situations in our lifetime explains different things what's happened, between us and our friends and stuff, what's happened. Now it makes
Yeah.
sense.
So yeah, my
They'll be
mom
like, be
always.
quiet.
That's how she would curse it. She sense herself. She never just flat out said it. She was just like, no. So yeah, I think we just gotta do better, man. And I think that's passed down. I think they talk crazy to their kids because their parents talk crazy to them, and it's not okay. You know what I'm saying? Like kids remember that stuff. Like I remember so much stuff that happened from my childhood that I don't talk about with my mom because like in her mind she acts like it never happened. It's a lot of things that happen that she's just like, when did that happen? Like still to this day, she refuses to accept I went to three different high schools. I'm like, Mom, I went to three different high schools. She's like, well, ninth grade really don't count.
It does
Ninth grade does
count.
count. Like you kept pulling me from school,
Hey,
like, and it
hey,
messed up
hey,
my opportunities with
hey, my brother
athletics.
went to doggone Jared with the phone. He got you beat. He
But
basically.
that's his choice, though. It was never my
Yeah, that's
choice. Like
true.
I want
That's
in my
true.
mind, I wanted to go to one school all 4 years. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's one thing. A benefit that Jared had
You got to
over parents
choose.
is like
Yeah.
their parents are able to put their heads together and be like, hey, he wants to do this. We're going to support him with
Hmm.
that. You know what I'm saying? And to be honest, I used to be jealous of you when we was little, bro. Like you had two brothers. I have four sisters.
Hmm.
And you used to be like, man, stop talking to me. Get out my room. I used to be so jealous. Like, man, I wish I had two
Our
brothers.
relationship
I
is
got four
different now.
sisters. Like, you could go,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, for sure now. But, like, back then,
Yeah.
you mad. I'm like, man, get out my room. You like me? I'm like, I used to tell you all the time, man, stop being mean to the boys. Stop being mean to the boys.
Yeah.
And then we had a situation happen. I say what you don't talk about with Jared. And
Mm.
who was the first one to show up? Flint Barnes. You were the first one to show up. You had tears in your eyes, and that's my little brother. So all
Yeah.
that barking you did, that
Yeah.
showed you really loved them. And yeah, but
Yeah.
I so jealous that you had two brothers, man. That's why I always treat them like my little brothers. Still to this day, I look at it. But even that's why early on I felt the way I did. I'm like, man, this dude got like he can go play I can't play basketball with my sisters. They suck. They wouldn't even score. Jared might get a bucket off back there,
Yeah.
but
That's true. That's true. But I'll say though. But that's the thing. When you're young, it's a lot of growing up, and then, like I said, our relationship is different now. The
absolutely,
relationships now are a lot different than when you're younger. So I'll say that makes a huge difference,
absolutely.
right there.
And that's the beauty of life too, man. You grow and you learn. Like that's one thing I'm proud to say is like I'm not the same person I was 10, 15 years ago, and you're not the same person you was 10, 15 years ago. And I've been fortunate enough to see your growth.
Same here.
Like I remember how you was when we was, freshmen in college. And I think you've grown into a beautiful man, and I'm very proud to say I'm
I'm
your
proud to
friend,
say
your brother.
you've grown a lot too. Like I said, you learn to control control a lot of things now compared to back then. Back then, you as always on site with a dude, and now you're like, bro, I got to. I remember that Duff situation. The dude with
Yeah.
the dude at the Duff situation. I told you how I felt about it, and you're like, bro, I don't know why he didn't let that happen because we don't know what the repercussions could have been.
Right.
So I'll say, we both grew, and I'll say I'm glad that we, got to go through this journey as best friends slash brothers, and see what the 18-year-old us, and now see the 30-something-year-old us, and that's a
Yes.
big thing. That's why we say the mental health makes a difference because if you have somebody you can talk with about things that can help things, go by easier. Like, I'll say even though we may have significant others, our women, I don't think they understand everything you go through as a man. Like how you were saying, you got to suck it up. That's what you're told. You got to suck it up, figure it out, type of thing.
That's what you always told.
And
Exactly.
now it's like, hey, bro, you ain't got to just suck it up. You gotta, express it because think about it. If man just acted straight off emotion, do you know how many wars would go on? You know,
Yeah, for
it,
sure.
it'll be wars.
Especially, and like I said, that's why you see so many emotional black men because they're not taught at a young age how to deal with their emotions.
Hmm.
And I know for myself, I'm extremely emotional. I was younger, I was extremely emotional, extremely sensitive, and now like I'm still sensitive, I'm still extremely emotional, but I've had to teach myself through how to handle it, deal with it.
Hmm.
And yeah, and I think that's a big part of it, not having to follow. Like I see videos online all the time of like, fathers teaching their kids how to deal with emotion. A woman can't teach a man how to
Yeah.
deal with emotion because they're
Yes,
emotional.
that's a fact. That's why I was saying, like I said,
So
having that father figure in your life, and and I know you said it wasn't your uncle's responsibility, but I disagree. I'm like, if your dad's not there, it has to be another male figure that truly loves you that has to be there for your
right,
blood. Like, God forbid anything happened to, my brother, me and my dad and my other brother would be there for the little guy, my little nephew. We'd be there for him
right,
because
absolutely,
I feel like that's your job. It's not, hey, this ain't my kid. No, that's your blood. Your nephew is your blood. Your niece is your blood. You got to be there for them. Like I said, it doesn't matter if that's your kid or not. If you're someone close, you have to be there. Like, I know that if something would have ever happened to my parents, one of my aunts and uncles would have took me and my siblings in if we are young. So,
yeah.
I'll say, even though I didn't just have my dad, I had my uncles, that were great father figures in my life that really made a difference and impact.
Now that's another thing too. Your family was always really close, which I've always loved about you guys. You guys are always really close. Y'all always doing some sort of family event every year.
Hmm.
So like I have family in I have family in New Jersey I don't even talk to. So I live in New Jersey now. So
Yeah, my cousins. I'll say we're close, but it's certain cousins that are close. Like, the ones that are around my age and the ones on my mom's side, we're closer than some of my other cousins. But you know, um, I'll say having a close knit family is a blessing because there's so many people that I see. Hey man, forget my cousin and this and that. I think that's been mental trauma.
right.
I think that's been mental trauma that's happened
It's
from them.
literally a rap with a song called F My Cousin.
Yeah,
Oh, right, yeah.
that's mental trauma because that cousin's mom and your mom probably don't get along, and so that brings that on to the kids. That mental trauma. And my family's like, hey, like, y'all got a problem, y'all got to talk it out. Y'all got to race. Y'all got to play basketball 1-on-1. Y'all got to figure that junk out. It ain't go like just because y'all
Yeah.
got a problem don't mean we ain't hanging out. I'll say, it's been time. Me and my cousins were younger. We had talked trash and laugh at each other and all this and that. I'll say the funniest story that I have with my cousins, because they always would check on me and things, is we were playing basketball with my cousin Dravon, and he had a guy that went to where he went to. He went to, I think, what was that school? Marquette or something. He went to Marquette or something. The guy went D1. And so we're playing ball because me and my cousins during Thanksgiving break would always play football or basketball. And I remember, I was talking trash. I was like, man, let me guard him. They're like, bro, he's going to Marquette. He's going D1. I was like, man, let me guard him. I called for ISO on defense. He drove past me and slammed it. And I looked back at my cousins like, where's my help? They're like, we're not helping. You told us you wanted to do him 1-on-1. Like, you're a Pat Bev out there.
You said
Like,
you got
I was
it.
calling him like I was Pat Bev. And he drove past me and slammed it. It was nasty too. My brother was laughing. My cousins over there laughing. I'm like, hey, ain't much I can do. Dude going D1 for a reason.
Yeah.
So I'll say, that trauma can pass down from not just your mom or dad. It can pass down from aunts and uncles. Because like I said, there's some people, like you say with
Right.
the rapper who got that song, F My Cousin. They probably had trauma with their parents or mom or dad, whatever. And now they have problems with you for unknown reasons. So you never know. I'll say this though. I'll say since we had a long conversation about mental trauma, we're gonna get on to our next topic, the NBA playoff buzz.
Hey, before we hop into it, I got a couple of headlines for you. So, sadly, Greg Popovich has stepped down as the head coach for the San Antonio Spurs after 29 seasons, and he's transitioning to the president of basketball operations. Mitch Johnson has been promoted to head coach. He was the assistant coach for them for a couple years. I'm more two, I believe. I don't think he played long in the NBA, but I think he played maybe on the practice team or whatever. But obviously, tried to play pro ball and head coach. He believes in the Spurs philosophy. Coach Pop has been tooling him, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm very optimistic for him. He's a rookie head coach, but he's loved in that building, so I think he's going to do well. I hope he does well. And another money, it made me feel like we're getting old, bro. Like I do not like to think about getting older, but we saw so many great coaches retire. We saw Pop retire. We saw Dean Smith retire.
Pat Riley.
We saw Coach Williams, Pat Riley. Pat Riley's we was a little young for that one. But Duke's head coach, we saw him retire. So it's just like, dang, like Father Time is undefeated,
Yeah.
man. So that's one. And this one, I'm not sure if you knew this, but check this out. The 2025 VA Draft Combine begins today in Chicago, Saturday for the people who don't know. And it features obviously top prospects like Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper. And now, new rule requires all invitees to participate to enhance fair teams and fans to decipher how they feel about each player.
Wow, why didn't they have that back in the day when we were younger? Because all the top prospects, man, I'm going number one. I'm gonna sit out. Like the NFL needs to add this because I'm tired.
Yes, that's why I said
You know
that.
what, Jay? That's probably why
Because I
Shador
think
fell.
Shador would have participated at the combine. Exactly. I think that played a part into it because now you come off as smug and arrogant, and I think that's why he failed. Because he only threw his pro. He didn't even run his 40, which I get. He's not even a fast guy, so that's fine. But for you to go to the combine and answer these interviews, and we weren't there, but supposedly he was very smug in his interviews and very like full of himself. I think if he would have threw, that would have helped his case a lot.
Yes.
And I think the NFL should 100% implement
So,
that because think about the guys who could have got invited
think
to the
about this,
combine to
Jay.
display their talent, but they didn't get the spot because someone went there and didn't
These
participate.
dude, here's what I would tell these guys. I would tell them if you're gonna come and just interview, we could call you on the phone. We can fly you out for this. We're here to
Yeah,
see guys compete. Like, see if you can build chemistry with other wide receivers. Like, throw into your own wide receivers. You've been doing that for the whole season. That crap doesn't wow none of us. Throw to new guys.
no.
I would give every quarterback a fast guy
So
and a
I
slow
like
guy.
that. The NFL needs to bring that.
Yes, I agree. I agree totally, and I like the NBA is doing that.
I'm right there with you. So you want to do the East or the
Let me get the
West?
East.
I kind of want to do the
Okay,
West if you
good.
let
I
me
want
pick.
East.
That's
Okay,
perfect. All right, go ahead.
okay, okay. I'm gonna say I am super, super surprised with this one. The East, I'm surprised with both of them. The Knicks are 2-0 versus Celtics. You heard what Paul Pierce said? Paul Pierce said if the
Mm-mm,
he
what's that?
said if the Celtics get beat in game two, he'll go walking. I forget like 80 miles or something. And he said he'd go walking 80 miles or something. I don't remember the whole thing, but he said I'll go walking. And the Knicks ended up pulling off 2 wins in a row with the with the Celtics being home. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say if the Knicks pull this off, this is gonna be the surprise move of the playoffs because I didn't think the Knicks would be going to the Eastern
Yes.
Conference Finals, especially after they almost lost.
No. And yeah, and I don't know what to think of the Knicks, to be honest with you, because they're in a very competitive game and series with Detroit. Because it was times where I'm like, Detroit may pull this off. Because
Yeah.
Detroit was giving them a run for their money. So I'm like, okay, they're going to get dominated by Boston. And now they're up 2 on Boston. I don't believe the series is over yet, but Boston has been put on notice. They're currently playing right now because it's 4 o'clock. The game was at 3:30. So Boston better figure this shit
Yeah, that's
out.
a fact. That's a fact. And then how about this? The Cavs were talking all that trash to the Heat, talking about we going straight at Tyler Hero and everything. They're down 2-0 to the Pacers with Halliburton hitting a game winner. Well, game three, they're down 2-1. Game three, um, Donovan Mitchell had to carry the team and go drop 40. He had to like this is like when he was with the Jazz.
Then he dropped 40 in a loss
Yeah,
too.
he
I want to say game one or
this
two
is
he
like the
dropped 40 in a
Jazz.
loss, or 38 or something like that.
Like why would I go to the Cavs to have to drop
Yes.
40 to win? Like Garland, bro, where are you at?
That's why he was traded. So
Garland, where are
yeah.
you at? You talk all that noise
Yeah.
to Hero.
I think Garland came back for game three, but he's rusty. You know, he's missed some time, so he's rusty. Game four is scheduled for Sunday at 8 p.m. And this is another series that shocked me because I felt there no way in hell the Pacers had
I
a chance
agree.
with the team. But I've learned this team will go as far as Tyrese Halliburton will take them.
He had
He had a
8,
bad
bro.
game and they lost. Yeah, so he has to continue to be the player that we've seen him be, and for Cleveland have a
Yeah,
chance.
I agree. And that's this series. It's not over. The Cavs still can come back, but you're gonna have to play the
Yeah,
Pacers in one more game on the road. And if they go up 3-1, the series is over. They don't have a LeBron. They don't have a LeBron and
we're getting
Kyrie.
some great basketball
So
for sure. Yeah.
yeah, they go down 3-1, it's over with. All right. I'm ready for the West, bro.
Next up, we got the Denver Nuggets versus OKC. The Nuggets get the series 2-1 after an overtime victory in Game 3. Game 4 is scheduled for Sunday at 3:30. I don't want to sound like a non-believer. It's hard to win with one star, though. They were the best team all year, OKC, and now they're playing a team where it's not as, oh, we play a different team every night. They're playing a team that's solely focused on you,
Yes.
which is what Denver's doing, and they know Shea. So Denver is a season that's championship before.
What is
I
Chet
think
doing?
OKC is still too young, man.
What is Chet doing?
Chet is, he's been laying the egg. I mean, he's not. Chet is not going to be the second star. A lot of people believe he was going to become this superstar or whatever. I don't think he's going to
But he's
become that.
drafted
He's
too.
great on defense, but like, yeah, he's too small. He's too small, bro. He needs to play like the 4 or the 3. Instead, he's playing the 4 or the 5, but he's just too small. It was one time where he went for a layup and someone just kind of slightly bumped him and he's on the ground. He's too small. He's not going to last in a physical game like that. If Jalen is going to be your best player, he needs to perform better. He's not that great of a defender, so he has to be better offensively on a nightly basis. And CJ started off slow, but he's been playing better as of late. But even with that being said, I mean, he's gonna need somebody else to come
Are they like
along
the
with
Atlanta Hawks back in the day? They had a one good player, and then
him.
they get the number one seed and get beat by the better team.
A bunch of role
Yeah,
plays around, yeah. But the thing is, they didn't have like a superstar
yeah,
though. They just
that's
had
true.
like three
All
legit, really
stars.
good players. They had Corver, they had Teague, yes, 3 All Stars. They had Corver, Teague, who was it? Paul Millsap was
I
the other
think
one.
so.
So they had a good team overall. Next, we got Golden State versus Minnesota. The series is tied 1-1, and the game 3 is tonight at
AE
8:30.
hurt
Game 1, the Warriors secured a 99 to
and
8
Steph.
a 99 to 88 victory despite missing their star Steph, and he hurt his hamstring. Fun fact about Curry: this is his first soft tissue injury in his career.
Wow.
All his injuries have been like he broke his wrist, he rolled his ankle, which is more ligaments. But as far as like pulling a hamstring or muscle strain, this is his first ever injury. So he's going to be out for a couple games. Jimmy Butler stepped up and had 20, and Buddy Hield had 24, 5 of 8 from downtown. And the Warriors defense had the Timberwolves shooting 5 for 29 for 3, which is
That's
terrible.
horrible.
And then game 2, they bounced back with a win 17 to 93. With Julius Randle leading them with 24 and 11. And AE got hurt, but he had 20 and 9 before he left with the ankle injury. I think he's going to keep playing, though. Anthony's a tough kid. And Minnesota defense was out there. They struggled out Curry. Jonathan Kuminga played good coming off the bench, and Jimmy Butler played good as well, 18 and 17. But 18 and 17 from them two guys ain't going to be enough. I don't think Buddy Hield played that well. I forget how many points he had, but the Warriors need to figure it out. My overall take is that Golden State if they can hold the ship steady until Steph comes back, they got a shot to win. because that means playoff Jimmy is playing like playoff Jimmy, and we haven't seen him yet, but we've seen playoff Jimmy continue to the finals. So I think there's still hope for them, and I don't think it's over yet.
Jimmy never had a player like Steph.
We'll see what
He
happens
never had
tonight.
a player like Steph next
Correct.
to him in the playoffs.
He's never had no one to come along with him, which is why he always ran out of gas. He never had no one to come along with him. We thought it could be Bam. We thought it could hero. But one playoff run, he always hurt the whole series. And when he came back, he was rusty as hell, so he wasn't making
Hero
an
always
impact.
been hurt, doggone in the playoffs.
So, anything else you want to add about the playoffs?
No, I'll say it's been surprising. Like I'm surprised with it. I thought the
It's
Thunder.
been great. It's
I
been some
thought the
great
Thunder
playoff
was gonna be
basketball.
up 2-1, and then I thought that the Wolves. As soon as I heard Curry got hurt, I was like, man, the Wolves about to run up on them. Run them out the stadium. But they've been
Yeah,
winning.
they've been winning. It's competitive for sure.
All right,
But moving on to our next topic, since we're talking basketball, we're going to talk about how our teams can get
I'm gonna
better.
go first.
So we're going to do the Heat first.
No, I'm gonna go first.
See how we just on the same
Yep.
page? So the question is, how can the Miami Heat improve?
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna say, I'll tell you this. How can the Heat improve? Well, you have to, as a Miami Heat. I think Pat Riley has lost his touch. I think the game has passed him by. He hasn't brought in that big fish since. I'll say he had Jimmy, but he hasn't brought in a championship contender team since the Big Three. I think you need to tell Eric Spoelstra, hey, we need a new voice in the locker room. Eric Spoelstra, we're going to have you be the president and control everything from the top. I think Pat Riley, it's time for him to retire. Games Pat, he just hasn't been the
Oh,
same. He's in his 80s now. I think the locker room needs a new voice. Bring in. I heard that Chris Quinn has been a hot topic that teams want to interview. I think he could make a great head coach, so you can bring him in. There's a few other people. I think you can bring in Alonzo Mourning and let him coach. He's a tough nosed coach. I know he's at the top in the front office, but I think he could be a tough nosed coach. Heck, bring in UD. UD's been always been a great locker room.
that would be. I like it. I like the idea of you as a coach, a player coach. I feel like they relate to the players. They've been in their shoes, and UD knows about the Miami
He's from
mentality. I
Miami
think he
too.
definitely because his last 3 years he's from Miami. His last 3 years he was a player coach. So I think I like the UD one. I like that one a lot. Obviously Pat Ewing's floating out there. He was the head coach for Georgetown for a while. So he's a name that could potentially
Juwan
get thrown out
Howard.
there. Not she's still coaching. I think he's still current. Juwan Howard's another. I think he's a good coach. I don't know why Michigan let him go, but from my aspect, you guys gotta enhance your offensive firepower.
Hey,
You guys are known for having players committed to
you
play
gotta let me get to
defense,
that.
and you need to find an
You
elite
gotta let me
scorer.
get to that. Okay. So I think they need to make a franchise changing trade. Um, I seen this trade. I don't know if you're gonna agree with it, but I seen this trade. I wrote it down. I wrote this trade down. Okay. So the trade was for
Okay.
Zion and CJ McCollum. Here was the trade. Andrew Wiggins, Terry Rozier, Duncan Robinson, Jaime Hasquez, 2027 first, a 2029 first, and a 2027 second. And I'm like, you're not really giving up too much. I'm like, Zion is the biggest. Is the biggest. He at least he gonna bring some fans in the seat. At worst, gonna worse because Tyler Hero and Bam have shown they can't do it. They shown they can't do it. Look at what happened. They got swept. You got beat by 55. Okay, I got another one. I got another
Yeah,
trade.
that was bad.
I'm like, hey, that you need to bring in somebody that's gonna put butts in seats because Tyler Hero and Bam ain't. I'm like, number two, they're talking about
But we
KD.
trying to compete and win. We not trying to, buy
Hey,
sell
Zion
tickets.
has potential,
This
man. He
ain't
has
Dallas.
potential. I'll say there was
Zion
trades.
has not played a full season in his
Hey,
career
hey,
except for
that's
once.
not the only trade I'm talking about. All right. There's a trade for Ja Morant.
And CJ McCullough's like
They had a
34.
Ja Morant trade.
Okay, let's hit the Morant one.
I'm like, I think the John Morant trade will make a huge difference. Having a point guard that can do what he do, you have him being explosive and doing his thing. I think John Morant can really make a difference. He can really make a difference in Miami.
You can't give up Bam if you're going to get Ja Morant. Ja Morant wants to run the pick and roll. He's
Hey,
made that
hey,
very
I
clear.
think you could basically give
So
up.
who you
I,
giving
I
up
would
in this
give up that
trade?
same package. I give up that same package for John Morant.
Ah man,
Probably
that's
add
tough.
another another
I
first.
think you got to hold on to Hawk West.
Add another first. And I would give John Morant. Like they were talking about the KD trades. I don't know. I feel like KD is not the same player anymore. There was Giannis
No,
trades.
he's not. He's not going to lead the winning. KD's going to always average 25 to 28 points, but he's not. He's not impacting anymore. Sadly,
Yeah, they said the Giannis trades, but with Giannis, you're gonna have to give. There was a Giannis trade that gave up Bam and Tyler Hero. I'm like, he's just like,
you have to
hey,
give up
I'm
Bam.
like, if you're gonna give up both of them, you basically became Milwaukee again. You're basically Milwaukee.
Correct. You're a worse a
What?
team than Milwaukee has
Yeah,
been.
you're
Yeah,
worse because you got just Giannis and who else? Where is a really? It's a good young player, but Giannis would rather stay in Milwaukee if it was just him. So I'm like,
for sure.
I don't think. Here's where I think it's gonna happen. I think if Giannis got traded, I think he's going to the Spurs due to the assets they have. Giannis is an interesting trade. I think the best you can get is KD, but KD's not going to help with winning. Look at the Nets; they really didn't go too far. Now look at the Suns, not really doing anything. He's just over the hill
Didn't even
now.
make the
He's going
playoffs.
to get buckets, but he's over the hill now. So
Yeah,
KD is out of
exactly.
there.
He's always going to be a bucket getter.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, let's talk about the Magic now. What do you think about the Magic?
No, 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 no. I got a couple opinions of my
Okay.
own. Like I was saying, you agreed with me. Y'all got to increase y'all offensive firepower. You always known have guys committed to play defense. If you look at Max Strus is always a good defender coming out the bench. Now he's a starter for Cleveland. I think he dropped 33 the other night. So he was a good player. You guys kind of let walk, but money talks. Money Cleveland offered him, you guys weren't going to offer him. So I understand that
Gabe
situation.
Vincent left too.
And then
He was a playoff
Gabe Vincent
contributor.
left too, but he ain't been good for the
He
Lakers.
was he was
He
good for
was, but he hasn't
Miami.
been good in the Lakers. So that makes me feel like it was Miami. That's what I'm saying. I feel like that was a Miami Heat thing. That's why he was good. You got to get a score. If the Cavs somehow lose to the Pacers, Mitchell may be available. I think Mitchell and the Heat will be a great fit. As long as you don't if you give up somebody like Hero for him, I mean, you get a better version of Hero. So you'll have someone that can
You're
kind
a
of
worse
be
Cavs team.
who's going to at least attempt to play
You're worse
defense.
Cavs teams at that
Yeah,
point.
he'll be
So
Hero. Don't try to
I
play
don't think
defense. Yeah,
Mitchell would be worth that.
that's not a bad.
Like
You
and
want to like
no,
Mitchell? You have a
if
guy
you
who can
give
get a
up
bucket.
Hero, I wouldn't like that Mitchell trade because think about it. The Cavs have a much better team than the Heat. If you give up Tyler Hero, it's just Mitchell and Bam. I don't know if Bam is putting up the
Hero
numbers.
got you 4 points on 32 minutes.
I don't think Bam is gonna be that. I think Mitchell will be like where he is with the Jazz, where he was with the Jazz. Have to score 40 a night because Bam is inconsistent.
That's fair. That's fair. Another thing too is you guys got to really let Hawkins Jr. and Jovic
I like Yogi.
develop.
I like
Like he
Yogi.
needs to take a step next year.
He's good.
They need to take a step next year. If both those guys take a step, that's going to give you a lot of firepower in your front court, which will help. And then you can solidify this point guard position. You don't have a
You
facilitator.
know what I would do, Jay?
You need someone that can facilitate the offense, get everybody
I
set
would
up.
start Jovic
What's
at the
up?
three. Like my lineup would be this. I would have had Hero and Duncan Robinson. I would have had Jokic. I would have had Jovic at the three. Bam and Ware. And I think that's a more offensive firepower team. Let Scary Terry come off the bench. And
Have Hawkins come off the
yeah,
bench too.
but the thing is, Eric Spoelstra don't give He has a short leash with Jovic. He doesn't play him a lot. He plays him at the four. I think he's more of a
Yeah.
three.
Yeah, them foreigners are definitely, and it is where he's stretching the floor. He's in the corner. So I think having the stretch four when you already have an undersized big with Bam is not the best idea.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, you guys need a facilitator point guard. You need someone who can set the offense
I
up.
think
They don't gotta be
Jokic can
no
do that
electric
at
guy.
the three. I think he'd be a point
Be a
forward. Yeah,
forward.
I think he can do that, and
Okay.
and he doesn't get a
And you
chance.
need depth. You need depth on your bench because you got guys like Jovic who's not getting opportunity to play. Jaquez isn't quite there yet, and then who else you got after him? Who
Scary
else is going to
Terry.
step in and make plays? You know. So I think you need to add.
He's
Yeah,
been a
he getting no,
disappointment.
bro. Yeah. So, well, all right. Moving on to Orlando. Orlando was great on defense last year against the three ball. Best defense in the league against three ball and top 5 defense overall in the league. And so that's something I was proud with our team. We had great coaching. The guys, when you see guys committing to playing defense, especially when, let's just call it a spade a spade. Foreigners don't play defense. And we got 3 foreigners that was playing defense or at least trying. Like that's the big thing is effort. You look at Luka, top 3 offensive player in the league and probably number 1. Luka don't try on defense. That's my
Oh,
biggest knock with him. He doesn't even try on defense. Got Franz Wagner. He can't guard no damn body, but he's gonna try. And he's a long player, so he's gonna get plays because he's 6'10" with long arms. He's gonna play he normally couldn't get because he's given that effort. So I love that our guys play defense and we defend ball except 3 ball exceptionally well. On the other side of that, we were the worst 3-point shooting team in the league. We shot 32% for 3 last year. That's not good. We got to get someone who can shoot knockdown shots. That's what Caldwell Pope was supposed to be. He was awful in the playoffs. I think one game he played 38 minutes and had 1 point.
what about Walt?
Money, I ain't played basketball in about 5 years. I can go do that.
What about Walt? Walt Clayton Jr. Have him be like a 3-point specialist off the bench. He can shoot. He's a scorer.
To be honest, Money, I don't like older basketball players.
Okay.
I just feel like your ceiling is lower. Because Walt's
Remember
been awesome.
Curry.
He's been a great player. He's
Curry
turned
was
his
older.
whole trajectory around. Curry was not 24 coming out.
Oh, Walt's 24? Oh man, like Curry's like
He's
what,
23,
22?
24. So, yeah. He was, I don't even think Steph was that old. But I think he was like
21,
20,
something like
21.
that.
But regardless of which, I don't like older guards coming out because their ceiling's a lot lower and he's not very athletic. He's gonna fit into that Orlando thing because he's not a good defender, but he gives that effort and he makes great defensive plays. We've seen the national championship. The last guy who got the contempt. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think he fits what we need. We need a shot creator. So because we play defense so well, if we bring a guy who, hey, we're gonna kind of try to hide you on defense, but we need you to get a bucket. Anthony Simons is a great shot creator. He's okay on defense. Can come in there and get us a couple buckets. But the guy I would love for us to get is Trae Young. I think Trae Young adds so
Him
much
and
depth. He
Pablo,
did double
bro.
double
Him
for
and
his
Pablo
career.
would ball out. Pick and roll. Them two in a pick and roll.
I love the idea of Trae Young, especially with him being on the block. He's a double guy for his career. I think he averages 18 and 10 for his career. So he can create his own shot. He's going to facilitate it. And since we have a great coach, he's going to be able to get him like, hey, Trey, instead of shooting 5 logo threes a game, how about we limit it to 3? Baby step it. You know what I'm saying? Let's baby
Let the
step
team
it.
up
Let's
more.
not shoot
You ain't
5.
gotta
Let's just
score.
limit
You
it
ain't gotta
to
score
3.
40 a night now.
Exactly. Set the
Because
team up
he
more.
never had a player like
So I
Pablo.
would love Trae Young to be our point guard.
So
No.
that's the
And
thing.
then think about it. We already got a spot up shooter with Franz. And Franz played great in the playoffs. He averaged
What
24
about
games
Suggs though?
with against
What would you do
Orlando.
with Suggs?
He averaged 24. And I mean, I'm fine moving him. Suggs he's hit. Some games he's good, some games he's
But not
not.
Trae Young.
He's not. He's a good defender. But yeah, Trae Young. I'm willing to take the good with the bad with Trae Young. You know, we know Trae Young ain't finna play no defense, but he's giving us 18 and 12 on the opposite end. That's what we need. We need that facilitator, and I feel like everyone that can remember Trae Young just lack of defense. Another potential one, we could bring in some depth, like Laurie Marketing. He's on the block. He's a stretch 4.
He can
And
play the 3 also.
big brother Moritz. He can play exactly. He can play a 3 also. And Moritz was hurt a lot this year. So we can bring us someone that can kind of back up with that front court. And I think we're a player or two away, man. I love how we played Boston Celtics. Now, granted, we may be seeing the Boston Celtics aren't as good as they were last year, but I still feel very optimistic. I think we played them very competitively. We got blown out one game by 17, and that's not terrible. And so I think if we can make these small adjustments, we can be a better team next year and go the next step. And we're also young too. We're young, like just like the Rockets. Obviously, I think the Rockets had better because, in my opinion, the Rockets don't have any one player that's better than Paolo. The closest is Şengün. I think Şengün's a great player, but I personally like Paolo better. So I think our roster's better than theirs. I just think they had better coaching. And it's not enough. I think a really good head coach. I think he did really good last season. But it's M8, man. He took the Boston Celtics to the finals. You know what I'm saying? And then he made this team a 2 seed. He's a great coach.
Celtics.
What are your thoughts on Orlando
I'll
Magic?
say the Celtics might regret letting him go because looking at the position they're in. But I'll say with Orlando, I agree with you that Trae Young, that could make a huge difference. I'll say another thing is I think you all need a player that can just say, "Hey, Pablo, you ain't gotta, do your thing. I got you tonight. Sit back and chill. You can ride passenger." And I don't think the Magic have that. I think he's always the driver. Everybody else is riding passenger.
Franz is there. Franz is a good
Yeah,
player.
yeah, he's there, but
He was definitely contributing.
I think they need a third one. I think Franz could be the third, and then they have somebody be the second or first. And
So you think Franz Wagner can't be our second
no,
best? To be fair, though, I can see that, and I agree with what you're saying. If he's our number 3, we got a damn good
that's
team.
what I'm
right?
saying.
If Franz Wagner gets demoted to our number 3, and he's giving us 25, so yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point.
But I like the Magic in their future. I think they have potential. They have much more potential than the
And
team
we got some
in
draft
Miami.
picks, man. We got like 2 or 3 draft picks this year.
I would pack it. You know what, Jay? I would get rid of Wendell and go get another big man that could do a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like how you were saying.
And I like Wendell, but he has to contribute more. I agree. He has to contribute more, man. And I was excited when we first got him, but I need him to get 12 hours a game. There's some games he will go out there and get 7 rebounds. And I'll see freaking Jalen Suggs with 7 rebounds. It's like, bro, Suggs is 6'4". You're damn near a 7-footer. Do we need to call DeAndre Drummond? We know Drummond gonna get at least 20 rebounds. Like, damn.
That's hilarious. But yeah, I'll say the main thing is the Magic. I think they're a piece or two away to being a championship contender.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm not sure. Now, this is the thing that concerns me with the Trae Young play. What are we giving up? We can't give up Franz. Obviously, Paolo's off the table, so I'm not even considering that. But we can't give up the Franz, and we can't give up Cole Anthony. I think he gives us a spark off the bench. He's a great locker room guy. I'm fine giving up with the defense, but I'm fine giving up Suggs. And I think to keep Franz happy, because fun fact, the reason why Ritz team is Franz was a little disappointed he was drafted by Orlando. He wanted to play with his brother. So what Orlando did, they brought him in because their foreigners are very close on family. Like Giannis. I'm not sure if you heard the Giannis story, but Giannis almost left the NBA because he got lonely. He wanted his family with him. So Milwaukee basically moved his family from there to here.
Mm.
From there, and this is before Giannis even was Giannis. You know, he was bad his first like 2
Yeah,
years, but they was like, we believe in him so much. They moved his whole family from Greece to the U.S.
that's
so he would
great.
be happy.
That's great.
So that's why we brought in his big brother.
That's great.
You know what I'm saying? To show like, hey, we want you to be happy. We want you in Orlando. And
Yeah.
so we obviously got to keep him rich. We can't trade his brother because that can leave a disgruntled Franz. He could start playing bad, and we don't need that. I think you keep that chemistry there.
I don't
Yeah.
think Trey.
What do you want for Trae
I don't
Young
think
is my
Trey is going to
question.
cost as much as we expect because
And I agree with you. I don't think he is,
he's not happy in
because I think
Atlanta.
Atlanta is so done with him. Yeah, he's not happy, and I think Atlanta's starting to be done with him too. So I agree with you. I don't think he's not going to have. Now, that year they went to the Eastern, and they was talking about trading him, you're going to need at least 2 firsts for him. So I think his value overall, his I don't want to say dropped, but the cost for him has dropped. I
Yes.
think.
Yes, it's like a 2024, Honda Accord compared to the 2025.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah, for
price
sure.
is a difference.
But all right, you got
Now
anything
I'm good
else?
on that one. I'm ready for this Dolphins talk, man.
All right, last topic we got on tap today is the NFL offseason recap. Money's going to talk about his Dolphins, and I'm going to talk about my Panthers. We're going to talk about from the offseason signings to the players drafted. Money, would you like to go first, or you want me to take
I'll
lead?
go first. So we're gonna talk about the
Okay,
signings. They signed a really good guard in Daniels, and then they signed two safeties. They had a safety in Mafanu and Aston Davis. I'll say Mafanu and Madden, he'll be our favorite, but the thing is, he can't. Those two safeties are good, but they can't stay healthy, and they let Javon Holland walk.
correct.
I was not a fan of Javon Holland walking.
And I like Ashton Davis for the record. He just can't stay healthy.
I wasn't a fan of Javon Holland walking. He's been a great safety, but Jordan Poyer, he had to go. That dude sucked. That dude straight up sucked. He had to go. I would say, I wasn't a huge fan of the draft at the beginning, but they draft. I'll say, with the first pick, they drafted Kenneth Grant. I'll say as a defensive tackle, I wasn't a huge fan of him, but Jay was like, man, he's getting good grades and this, and that. TJ sending me screenshots of him on NCAA being funny. Like, man, this dude's dominant, cuz. Like, look at his stats, man. Being funny. But I'll say
He's a good player. I
He's a
like
run
that pick a
stuff. You need
lot.
a run. You need a big boy. And so it seems like the Dolphins were trying to change their philosophy. They drafted Grant, and then they drafted Jonah in the second round. So it's like we're trying to get tougher. We're tired of that soft stuff. We want to run the ball. We want to stop the run. So those are the
Which
two
is good to
moves.
see from an offensive minded coach like Mike McDaniels. He's very offensive minded. So to see the team to getting some guys on defense, I love that for y'all.
Yes, and then you could tell they were being physical because they went and got Ollie Gordon from Oklahoma State. In the what round they got him in? What, the seventh? They got him in sixth or seventh round, and I think it was the seventh. Yeah, seventh round. So
That's crazy how one season can change
yeah,
everything. Before we had this pass in the NC college football season, right? Year before, I was projected as a first round pick. I don't know what happened this past season for him to make his value plummet so badly, but no, I mean, I think he's a
same
good
with
player.
Ears.
I think you guys, granted, yeah, Quinn, yes,
We got
he
him in the
was.
seventh
So
too.
I know, I don't know why you guys keep drafting running backs every year, but at some point, you got to give somebody a chance. You got Jalen Wright, who you liked a lot. Devin A. Chain has looked good. He just can't stay healthy because he's a smaller back. And now you have Ollie Gordon, who's a bigger back. So we'll see what. Someone's gonna be the odd man out.
You need
And I know you mentioned, which wasn't a bad day. You mentioned moving A. Chain, how to play a little slot and run back too. But we'll see what McDaniels has cooking up.
I'll say Gordon is going to be the goal line back because he's that bigger back. You want that dude. Hey, hey, hey! 4th and 1. Hey, you running that thing, and you can't
Yeah.
do nothing about it. That's why you got Gordon. I think he's going to be the goal line back. Then in the seventh round, they got Quinn Ears, who, like we're saying, was projected to go what in the first two rounds the year before. And he went in the seventh round.
Yeah.
So I'll say they made a few different things. I'll give the offseason a B. I'll say after doing some thinking, I give it a B. I like the Gordon pick. I like the Ears pick because Tua's always injured, and we're like, what is Zach Wilson gonna do? So I like the Quinn Ears pick.
So okay, so if it came down to it, obviously we don't wish injury upon nobody. We never want to, someone rear their future life. But if Tua was to get hurt, would you want them to give Quinn the nod or give Zach the nod? Because I personally feel like Zach Wilson, we saw it with Sam Darnold. We saw
Zach
how bad
Wilson
he
go
looked with that
first.
Jets team. Okay, because I kind of feel like he deserves a shot. Saw how bad that Jets team was. He went to Denver. He was a great locker room guy. I personally feel like he helped a lot with Bo Nick's development, being ready, because Zach could have easily been a pouty little bitch about it, but he was a team player. He was like, hey, man, this is your team. You do your thing. And a lot of people was like, I'm shocked he left. He was a star. He wants the opportunity to start, so he can go to a bad team and compete for a job, and then everyone still think he sucks, like the Raiders, who the Raiders are going to be better next year. Based on last season, they're a bad team. Or he can go to a team that's pretty good offensively, and that the quarterback tends to get hurt. Sadly, we know it's true. He tends to get hurt. You're going to get an
Offense
opportunity
is
to play.
catered to him.
Now, you know what'd be funny? If Tua plays every single game. Yeah, the offense is
Because think
catered to him.
about it, like I know I listened to one of my favorite Dolphins YouTubers, Pete. Shout out to Pete Takes. He's one of my favorite Dolphins YouTubers, and he's like, man, he would talk about this until Zach Wilson picked number 0, but he's like, man, Zach, you give him that speed, and he has more mobility than Tua. But watch Tua get hurt, and Zach
Yeah.
Wilson end up taking his job because think about it, he's never had speed like Waddle and Hill. Like he had, like Wilson has decent speed, but he don't have that burner type speed, and you can.
He has
Yeah,
a
and an
strong arm.
offensive coach that can, build an offense for him. Hey, Tua better not get injured.
I think, and obviously, like I said, yeah, I agree with you. I think if Zach is as good player as he was to be drafted number 2, and Tua goes down, I think he's going to shine. He's going to shine.
We got
So
to see what happened in training camp too.
yeah, we'll see how he looks. Do you think Quinn will make the team?
I think,
Miami additionally keep 3
I
quarterbacks.
think, I think yes, because if you put him on a practice squad, somebody might steal him. I think somebody will take him. You put him in
I
that
agree.
practice squad, so I think he's going to be on the team. You're going to have to cut a corner at one position. Like maybe a corner, one less corner, an offensive lineman, a defensive lineman, but Earson will be on the team. That's my prediction.
Okay. Anything else you have to add about your
No, what
Dolphins?
about you? You got anything to add about him?
Yeah, as we both know, PFF does their yearly draft grades. Obviously, it's just a draft; it doesn't include the offs and stuff. But they gave the team a B plus on the draft, and I liked it. Like I said, I liked you guys' first couple picks. It was in the right direction, especially the D tackle. You really liked him a lot, so I think you guys are moving in the right direction. And overall, as an off season, they addressed the position they needed with the safety, but you picked 2 safeties who were good. They're good players, but they're healthy, man. It's gonna come a point that they're unhealthy. There's gonna come a point in the season both of them are hurt.
Yeah,
I guarantee it, and that's unfortunate because I think both of them can play. It's gonna come a point where both of them boys is hurt. Now it's gonna allow Ricky to step up and
they
hopefully
drafted a
make
rookie
plays and take
safety.
that job. But exactly, so that's gonna give him an opportunity to go make plays. But you need someone that's gonna play more games. But moving on to the
My
Carolina
hold on.
Panthers,
My big
and after
concern about the Dolphins, I only had one big concern was cornerback. Who's going to be on the opposite of if Jalen Ramsey stays? Who's going to be on the opposite, or if you trade Jalen Ramsey, who's going to be there? That's my only concern.
which is fair. I mean, and you know it's funny. You've always had one good corner, and that other one's kind of been so-so. You had
Yes,
one year we had X and what's his
Byron
name?
Jones.
Jones? Byron Jones, yeah. You had and Byron Jones was good for a year. And after that, he just tanked. I don't know what happened to him. He was awful that next year. And so then X stayed good. You got a replacement. Then we had X and Jalen at one point, right?
Hmm.
Right? And then X tanked. Now you got Jalen. And Jalen was, I want to say he was bad last year. He was the Jalen we've seen before.
I agree.
So are we going to keep? Is Miami just going to keep having a good corner and one taken, and kill corner and then one taken, or are you going to go back to how you was that one year that made me believe the Dolphins were going to the AFC Championship because y'all defense is so good and the offense looked so well the year before?
Yeah, we'll have to see. I wonder what you got to say about your
We're gonna
Panthers,
see.
man.
So at the good time, I thought like you had to reflect. I had to reflect too, and the Panthers had a great offseason, man. I can't deny it. We signed one of the top safeties with trade coming from the Raiders. We brought in Rico Dow and Rasheem Blacksheep, and because Chuba Herbert's probably going to be out for the year, if not the whole season. He got hurt like week 16, 17 last year, so he's probably going to miss most of the season. With I think he tore his
Oh
ACL, so he's going to
man.
miss a lot. And yeah, so we brought in, Rico. Rico was really good with Dallas. He was one of the few undrafted rookies to rush for 1,000 yards and shocked they didn't bring him back. And I still completely unrelated. Dallas needs to go get Braylon Allen from the Jets. He's a big bruiser. Dallas
Hey,
always has a top offensive line. He will get a
they
thousand
get that
yards
from
easy
me.
with that
They get
team.
it. They get. Hey, you see, I gave them thumbs up for doing. They need to do that. Thumbs up.
If they did that, he's better than Rico, man. And if he's not, his ceiling is way higher than Rico's. And it's not that knock against Rico. It's just I think Braylon has so much untapped potential. And they drafted the running back too, the Jets. So that means someone's available on that backfield. If you look at our player draft, I'm gonna go through them real quick. We took Ted McMillan. If he's good as we think he's going to be, as everyone's saying he is, if he's going to be instant number one, then I mean having him Xavier is going to be beautiful because Ted is a playmaker. He's going to go make those jump ball contested situations, and Xavier is a playmaker as well, but he's more elusive and the more
How that
shifty,
speed.
so he can get that break you get on the ball. Yes, he can make guys miss. So because I think his X had a good season, if he keeps getting better, and if Tet is this immediate one, we can have an offense similar to Cincinnati. We just need Bryce to do his thing. Obviously Bryce isn't Joe Burrow, not saying that, but offense, based the way it's constructed, has potential to be like Cincinnati's with two top receivers and a great quarterback. Then after that, we took Nick Orton, edge rusher, in the second round, and I felt we needed to address our defense. I personally would have liked Jalen Walker in the first round, but they wanted to get Bryce more weapons, so I'm fine with that. And Ted McMillan was number one on a lot of people's board, so we got him another weapon. So we took Nick Scorton in the edge rush from A&M. Looking forward to him. Then we took Princely Umanele, another edge rusher. Then we took Travis Etienne's little brother
Do you
Trevor.
think it's good?
Now this one I wasn't really sure about. He's an okay player. I'm not sure why we took him when we signed two running backs in the offseason. And Chubb was going to come back, maybe not immediately, but I expect him back a week 10 or week 11. So I'm not sure why we brought in Trevor, but that's the guy we went with. So that one I have a question mark for. We brought in another defensive player with Cam Jackson, which makes me believe he's a defensive tackle. So if we brought in two edge rushers, a defensive tackle, and we already got Derek Brown, you know what that
4-3.
makes me think? We're going back to a 4-3 defense. I hope that will bring joy to my heart. We go back to a 4-3 defense. I just think the 4-3 defense is a better defense than a 3-4. I may be completely wrong. I've seen, obviously, New England's won a lot of championships running at the 4. So I just personally
It's
always like the
personnel.
4-3.
I say it's on your personal
And then
personnel. That's what it is.
yes, it's based on your personnel. And I think our personnel is better than that. I don't like Derek Brown playing edge rusher. He's 300 pounds. And so then we drafted a tight end, Mitchell Evans, from what school he went to? I forget. Miami, I think. So don't know much about him, but once again, trying to get more offensive weapon for Bryce. We lost a tight end in the free agency. And then one of my favorite picks is Jimmy Horn Jr. When we did that mock draft, I drafted Savion Williams because I really like him. And because I felt we could use another receiver, like a number 3 option, someone who could be sneaky good. I've always liked Jimmy Horn Jr. Colorado. I used to tell you about him. And so the fact that we took him, I like that pick a lot. I think he's going to be a sneaky player to move up the depth chart. I see him starting at slot, though he's a late pick. I definitely see it's going to be Tet, X, and Jimmy
Hey,
at
like
slot.
I like the Ollie Gordon.
So I'm really looking
Like I
forward
like the
to
Ollie
it.
Gordon. You like the
Yeah,
Jimmy Horn because Ollie Gordon was one of our favorite players.
100%. I really like that pick. Yeah, I know he's a small receiver, but I think he's really good. I think he's very underrated. So I'm happy that we got a guy like that. We drafted a bunch of defensive players because we desperately needed the defense, and I'm looking forward to see for the first time in a long time. I'm very optimistic, man. We were given the A+ overall in our draft. So my only critique was I wanted a corner. I wanted us to draft the corner because J.C. Horn, even though we just paid him $100 million, he hasn't played this full season in his career. The dude broke his foot on a non-contact play. So we need another corner. That's my only critique. Like you were saying with you, we need, like you guys could use one. I'm not sure if you feel like you need
No,
it,
we
but
need
we
a
need
corner
another
because
corner.
Jalen Ramsey wanted out.
Okay. Yeah, which is fair because Jalen has asked for a trade. But we need one because JC's not going to play the full season. So if we would have got one, I'd be happy. I like Kobe Jackson. I mean, excuse me, Kobe Bryant. He went undrafted. Did you hear about
Yeah.
that? I was shocked by that one. I really liked him a lot. He went undrafted
What
though,
what
but
about that
I
corner?
would have loved the corner
What
there.
about that
But
corner the Chargers let go? Asante Samuel Jr.
Asante Samuel Jr. He's good. I'm not sure if Carolina thinks he's good enough to bring in, and also how much money is he asking for. I think if we bring in, it'll be a 1 year rental, and those can be good or bad because guys can ball out, get paid, and then suck. I don't think he's a bad player, but it's
It
like,
was
is it worth the
injury.
risk?
It was injury.
Because I think he dealt with a lot of injuries his
Yeah.
last year. He's injured a lot last year, so we already got one injured corner. We don't need two injured corners. So I would personally shy away from that.
Okay.
But I'm excited. I'm excited and I'm optimistic for the first time in a long time as a Carolina fan.
I'm iffy with the Dolphins because it's about the quarterback. Like it hasn't been the offensive line. The reason
Correct.
why he's gotten hurt, he gotten hurt because he hold on to the ball too long, trying to do too much. Like think about the last injury he had. One of his injuries, he ran into the guy. He ran into the guy and got a concussion.
Yeah.
So it's just a quarterback and him making good decisions, and then the
Hmm.
defense.
Yeah, the defense was bad last year, but you guys addressed it. The defense was bad, and you guys made moves to address it. So I think that's something to look forward to. Something to me about. And same with the Carolina. We had one of the worst defenses in history last year. So a lot of free agents we signed were defensive, and a lot of draft picks were defensive. We took like 3 or 4 defensive players in a row. So I like the fact that our coach, even though he's offensive minded, he realized like, hey, we can't be this bad defense again. So we started off, got Bryce, we hope a bona fide superstar, and then we went like, okay, now we need to get some defense. So I like it. I like it. After thinking about it, I like our draft. I think we had a great offseason, and we should be competitive next year, man. We should be the best team in the NFC South, if not the best.
Y'all should be better than the
It depends
Saints.
on Bryce.
Y'all, you heard Derek Carr retired,
Yeah,
right?
Saints are going to be terrible. They got a 20. What?
Yeah, you ain't see that news. Derek Carr retired.
No, I didn't see that. I knew he was
Nah,
dealing
he
with some
retired,
injuries.
bro.
Wow, I did not know that.
Just
Okay, so
today.
now you got a 28-year-old quarterback as a rookie.
Well, he's 20. He's 25,
Damn,
bro.
Derek retired. That's sad though,
He's
man.
25, bro.
That
But
nigga's
still,
37. He's terrible. That's what he is. But
I was gonna bring it
we'll
up
see.
at
I
the
guess he's gonna
beginning.
be a starter.
I was gonna bring it up at the beginning, but I was like, nah. Let me see if he's. I thought you eventually were gonna bring it up, but I seen you ain't see it.
I didn't see that. So yeah, the Saints are bad. Who else is in the
The
South?
Bucks.
Carolina, Bucks, Saints, and Falcons. I think the Falcons are going to take a step back. But I don't think Pennis is good. I'm just going to put it out there. I don't think Pennis is going to be very good. Kissing Cousins is going to get moved at some point. You know, you see he's been good, right? That boy showing up to everything. He said, y'all ain't taking a dime away from me. So you either going to cut him and have an $80 million cap hit, or you're going to move him. And I think he's going to move to the point. I liked Cleveland to be his spot, but they got like 17 quarterbacks, so that's not happening. So we'll see. It's going to be something that needs a quarterback. You know, looks like the Saints, but the Saints don't got cap room. And they're division rivals. You're not trading with division rivals. So even if they have the cap room, they're not going to trade with the Falcons. So we're going to see what happens to Kirk, man. Kirk's going to end up somewhere before the season starts. There is a world where he ends up back with the Vikings, but as a backup. But would you want to pay that much
No,
money for a backup?
no, not at all.
So I don't know, man. But that's all I got, man. You got anything
No, I'm
else?
good.
That was good, though. That was good. A lot of things said. We got the NBA playoffs tonight, man. We got what is it? Game 3, was it?
Who's winning that Knicks
We have
game?
Boston playing right now. The Knicks, man. Let's see. Let me look at it real quick. I don't know. I didn't get a chance to see it. Boston's up 60-40 in the second quarter
Well, it looked like they might win that. So
with 2
so
minutes left.
2-2.
Yes,
I mean
they may win
2-1.
that.
2-1.
Damn. Yeah, so maybe 2-1, but still 2, and they head home after this, right?
No.
Oh, they're home now. Excuse me, they
The
home
Knicks
now.
are
So
home.
yeah, they home now. Yeah. So I don't know. It's gonna be a good game. Then we got who playing tonight? Somebody's playing tonight, right?
The Wolves Warriors.
All right, you guys. Thank you for making this on. It's one of our shortest ones.
Really?
But if you listen this whole time, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it as always. Please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. Thank you for following along. Follow us on social medias. I'm 2AV Jason, aka Jason HD.
I'm Elf Money. And y'all take it easy.
And until next one, y'all. Peace.
Take it easy, everybody.